But so, no, we wanted to come back and have some more time to chat. This time, no notes, no questions. Basically, just kind of talking about different philosophies. And one in particular that we wanted to talk about was your definitive design philosophy.
Yeah, I mean it's just a personal philosophy of mine. It's basically called the definitive philosophy.
Okay.
Which is that at any given time you'll have games that are the definitive and the most iconic games around a certain subject matter. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that you can do whenever you're developing a game or you're playing a game. You can kind of look at it from this perspective. But at any given time, you'll have definitive games that kind of take the crown or that are the current mind share in the industry. So you'll have like the definitive military first-person shooter, or you'll have the definitive side-scrolling platforming game, or the definitive zombie game.
Similar to how people always say, oh, well, this is a Metroid type shooter, or
Right.
this is a Castlevania type, or I said Metroid type shooter. Metroid type exploration. Hey, how's it going? Again, we're at Apollo Games in Round Rock, Texas. Busy day, good times. So, where was I? The Metroid. We're gonna put up a. This is the blooper roll, so it's all good. But no, so the Metroid exploration, where you come back and you re-explore the areas now that you have another weapon, this, that, and the other. So now, when you talk about those subject matters, do you ever look at? So when I think about that, I think, well, those aren't necessarily subject matters. More so, they're a type of mechanic or a type of gameplay. So like, that's a first-person shooter. That's an exploration action game. When I think subject matter, I think something like drug use, or for instance, GTA 5 is like the crime game or the criminal mind definitive game. Like if I want to know if I want to know how to put the player as a bad guy, I go to this to educate myself. So like, how do you feel about those types of subject matters and things like that?
Well, I think any subject matter, there's nothing too big or too small, but you can make your subject matter more niche by actually incorporating more than one. And sometimes it works, like in GTA's case, it's the definitive sandbox experience for reality. So you can kind of experiment and do a lot of the things that you can't do in real life, because it's a simulation of real life to a certain point, to a certain extent. So it's a driving simulator, but it's also a shooting simulator. There's all kinds of component, crime simulation, all that. But like if you look at something like, just take for example, Resident Evil. Like Resident Evil at one point in time was the definitive zombie game.
Yeah.
And so if you look at, it retains its audience and everything's there, but there are people that have gotten closer to what the general expectation of a zombie experience is. And they've made it more core to just being the surviving a zombie encounter. So like you can have things like Left 4 Dead or DayZ, which come in, and they in turn become the most relevant or the most iconic zombie games that are available now. And you can do that with almost any subject matter. So a lot of indie developers will pick subjects that nobody's touched on, and they'll do, a definitive comical surgery simulator, or
what's the name of it?
Surgeon Simulator 2013, I think. Or
is that what it is? It had a serious name? I know because I dealt with one of the developers behind it. Quick Fingers is his nickname, but I know him by. But yeah, that's the one where your hands are just going all over the place and you're throwing hearts all.
Right. So I mean, you can take that subject matter and you can do a different style on it, and you could be the definitive cartoony zombie game, or you could be the definitive action-packed or exaggerated zombie game, or the definitive realistic zombie simulation, and that still means that you're achieving something. You're actually accomplishing a certain goal with making something that is iconic and definable for people that are playing it.
Now, do you think that being definitive and being iconic and things of that nature, do you think that's going to equate to success?
Oftentimes it can. I mean, there's so many random factors that go on. Are you launching against something that has more mind share from people? Do you have the budget to compete in a certain kind of landscape if there are things that overshadow? So there's so many factors involved that it's not, like, it doesn't guarantee success, but it's more along the lines of, if you can be the one. If you could be the first thing that people think about within a given subject matter, then your chances for success are higher. So it's like, even though Ninja Gaiden is not a ninja simulation, it's more of the exaggerated action-packed ninja simulator. It's one of those things where if I say ninja game, it might be the first game that comes to your mind. Or even like fighting games, Street Fighter.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
even by name alone, Street Fighter, it tells you everything you need to know about the game.
That's what it is.
And it's got a history, so it's hard to talk about it as being relevant now if you were making a fighting game. But basically, if you're going to make a fighting game, you need to do something that's definitive and original for what you're doing, because you're not going to achieve success if you're just following after somebody's footsteps and trying to make a version of the game that they've already done, just with your own slant.
Now, so how long have you been in games?
Officially since '99.
So, yeah, with all of those opportunities, have you made the game that you wanted to make?
I've been blessed in my career to work on a lot of big games, so I really wanted to work on a Metroid game. And actually, one of the first games in my career that I was working on was with Jules, which you've had on your show. And that was a side-scrolling Metroid-style game for the Game Boy Color called Forlorn. Now, that game never came out, but then I eventually got my opportunity to work on the Metroid Prime series, which, is a dream come true.
Oh, yeah.
And then even doing, Donkey Kong Country Returns was a chance to work on something that I absolutely loved. Like, I played the Donkey Kong Country games, when I was younger, and it's a dream to be able to work with Nintendo on such a huge franchise. Everybody knows Donkey Kong.
Oh, yeah.
And then work on Halo. It's a dream to work on a franchise so huge as Halo that has such a following, and to be able to be a part of that and work with the people that are just incredible. Like, some of the talent at 343 is amazing.
Has that spoiled you in any way? It's like, you worked on Halo, you worked on Metroid, you worked on Donkey Kong. It's like, the only other, current big title out there is to go work at Rockstar now and work on GTA.
Well, the cool thing is like, I'm at Blue Point now, and so now I've got this opportunity to work on things that are more personal to me, as well as, like Blue Point has incredible technology, and so we're going to be able to do things that take advantage of the strengths of Blue Point as a company. And so this is really the experience to do things I've worked on a lot of franchises that exist previously and that have had followings before I got started with them. So, who knows, maybe I'll have the opportunity to do something original or to work on other big franchises with them.
Right on. And now Blue Point, they have their own in-house engine and everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how large is that company?
Blue Point right now is, I think, at about 40 some odd people,
Okay.
I think.
They've done Vita work as well, right? They've done,
So Blue Point is most known for doing the remasters of Shadow of the Colossus and Ico, Metal Gear Solid Collection, God of War HD Collection, but they also
again,
did
all super big titles. Look at you, man.
yeah, PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale. Blue Point did the Vita version, which has crossplay with the PS3 version. So it's again, it's a joy to be able to be in the places that I'm at, working with the people that I am, and so it's like, I feel like even if I got out of the industry at this point, I feel like I've accomplished plenty, but it's my passion, so I have to just keep going, and like there's so many things, like there's so many different types of games that I want to work on that, like I'm gonna do this till I die.
Right on, man. Well, dude, it's been a pleasure again. I had to fire the camera up and start that again. And I want to apologize for the noise, but we're one of the best game stores in Texas, Apollo Games, and so follow Apollo is what I'm pointing to. And so man, it's been a pleasure again. I gotta right on.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Right on, man. We gotta keep in touch.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys. Please support Operation Supply Drop.